This is our next assignment, and this one's really kind of cool because we learn about a new way to extrude something that will produce kind of an unusual shape. If you look on the screen right now, you'll see that I kind of have what looks like a car. I could probably throw this on a 3D printer right now, and it would end up looking pretty much like a car. It might not be the best, but we're just learning about a new tool today. So this is what we're going to end up with by the time that we're done. So let's go ahead and start in on it. The very first thing that I'm going to do is I'll make sure that I have a new design tab. And I am going to save my new design. And let's make sure that my location is Learn Fusion. And then you can see my Learn Fusion projects here. I have chess, CMS, initials, Turner Cube. Let's create a new folder in Learn Fusion, and let's call it car. And the name of my design, we'll just call it car design. Make sure that it's in the car folder, so you can see my location says Learn Fusion car, and my name is car design. When yours looks like mine, go ahead and click save. And I want to, in the data panel, get into my Learn Fusion project, get into that new folder I made. And right there you can see there's car design. We need from the assignment page a picture. So in the assignment page, there is this picture is linked into the assignment. So just like we did with the chess pawn, we're going to start with downloading this. So I will download that. That will save to the downloads of my computer. Click save. There you go. It's called carviews.png. And I'm going to upload it. Now remember, if you're using your Chromebook to upload a picture, when you click this upload button, it doesn't bring this menu open. Instead, it opens a new tab in Chrome. It takes you to Fusion Teams. When you're in Fusion Teams, you will have to get into your Learn Fusion project car folder, and then there will be a little upload button from Fusion Teams for you there. Okay, that's really the only difference. But if you're on a classroom computer, you're going to have something that looks like this. You'll go to Select Files. It should be in your Downloads folder. If you're on Chromebook, it's under Recents. Okay, I'll make sure that I have Downloads, and I will choose carviews.png. I'll open that up. And then I want to make sure it's in the right location, so Learn Fusion and the car folder. Great. I'll click Upload, and then I'll watch my data panel. And it is uploading. It's complete. I can close this when it says complete. We are going to use that picture that we just uploaded to trace, just like we did with the pawn. But we're actually going to create 3 tracings and extrude them all out, and we're going to tell them this time only extrude in the places that those extrusions touch. So that might make a little more sense in just a second here. So let me show you what we're going to do. Okay, I don't need my data panel anymore, so I'll close that so I have a little bit more room. I'm going to click like maybe the front view of my view cube, and the very first thing I'm going to do is insert a canvas. So I'll click on Canvas. I'll get into my Learn Fusion and car folder, and you can see I'm already there. And there's my picture, the carviews.png. I will insert it. All right. And it says, all right, what face do you want to insert this onto? I'll just choose the one that I'm looking at right now. And it's kind of tiny. I'm just going to hit OK, because we are going to do the same thing we did in the chess pawn assignment. And we are going to use the Calibrate in order to resize this picture. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'll get into the canvas folder here or down here in the timeline, either way. I'll right click on the canvas I just inserted. Maybe it won't let me from timeline. Maybe it won't let me from there either. Okay, there we go, finally let me. When I right click, I'm going to use the Calibrate. And here's how we're going to start off calibrating. So I'm going to say from the side panel of the car to the side panel of the car, so across this black line right here, that needs to be 50 millimeters. So to do that, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I will choose a point where those two lines meet. Then I'll zoom out a little bit, move over here, and I'll say same thing where those 2 points meet. Right now you can see it's 8.4 millimeters. I'll just type in 50 and hit enter. And then I need to zoom out a little bit because my picture just got much bigger. For this next part, I'm going to need to make sure that my origin is turned on. So right now you can see the eyeball next to origin is off, so I'll click on it. We need to get this up and down side panel of the car and this side to side bottom part of the tire to line up in the blue and red axis over here. So basically I need to move my canvas so it's resting in this corner. To do that, I right click on my canvas, I choose edit, and I can use this free move box right here. And I'm going to get that as close to the corner as I can. So I want the line of the tire touching the red x-axis and the straight up and down line of the tire touching the blue z-axis. And that's all nestled in place. That's exactly where I want it. I will click OK. So I have resized my canvas so that it's 50 millimeters across, and I've put it so that it's right there in the corner. All right. What we're going to do now is we're going to trace the car. This is where it kind of gets neat. So I will start by, just like I did in the chess pawn, I'll create a sketch, and I'll put that sketch just on that same plane as the canvas. And what I want to do is, before I start tracing anything out, I'm looking at this car. I like to look for the fastest way to do things. And I notice that the left side of my car and the right side of my car are identical. Well, I have a tool that lets me mirror one side over to the other to create a copy, and that's the mirror tool. So what I need to do is I need to first make it ready for mirroring. So I need to get a mirror line that will let me split this car in half, basically. So we're going to use a couple constructions for that. So I'll turn on line, and I'll make sure that it's a construction line. And the first one we're going to do is we're just going to put a line along the bottom edge of that car. So I will start my line right here. I'll make sure that it's snapped into that z-axis. Yours might be different than z, so just pay attention to whatever yours is. So right now, because it's snapped in there, it's coincident to that. And I'll zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to say, all right, well, we'll end it somewhere over here. We don't have to worry about perfect. Okay, I'm going to get out of my line tool. So I have this construction line right here. I'm going to hit D for dimension, and we want that to be just like our canvas from side to side. We want our model to be 50 millimeters too, so I'll type in 50, and you can see it pretty much puts it right in the same place. And now, to split this car in half, I need a straight up and down construction line. And I am going to place that construction line right in the midpoint. See, there's my triangle. So again, there's my triangle. So I'm going to start my line right there. And I want it to go somewhere above the car. And I want it to be sticking straight up and down. So you can see right now that my degrees are at 90. That means if it's 90 degrees to a completely horizontal line, that this line that I'm making right now is straight up and down. So I will click, and there I've got my mirror line set up right there. All right, so let's go ahead and start tracing. I'm going to click line first and make sure it's a real line, so I turn off construction. There are lots of parts on what I'm going to trace that are completely straight lines, so I'll use a straight line to do that. All right, so I'm going to go in. I'll start from the midpoint, and I'll draw a straight line right over to that corner with the tire. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll draw another straight line right from there, and I want to end it right before the tire starts to curve away, which looks right there. All right, I'll do another straight line for the bottom of the tire, and so this straight line that I'm drawing right now is on my x-axis. So I could tell, you could see as I get close to that red line, it snaps it into place. That's my x-axis. And again, I'm going to put this line a little bit away from the edge of the curve. So I'm going to start it right where the curve ends and where the straight line starts. And, well, look over here. My origin is kind of in the way, so I'm going to go over here and turn my origin off. And I still have my line tool selected. And this right there looks like the spot that the line ends. All right. I still have some straight lines in here. Don't worry, there's nothing here yet. We will add a spline to that corner of the tire later. But it's a round corner, and I don't want to use a straight line to do that. So here is the place where the tire stops curving here, and I'm going to put it, see that blue line? That means it is directly across from that other line, which is what I want. That's a good thing. And I will let this line just run up the z-axis, so it's completely on the z-axis, and I'm going to stop it right where the curve ends. Okay, and that's pretty much all of my straight lines. You can see we're only tracing the left-hand side of the car because we're going to mirror it. Now, everything I haven't done with a straight line, I'm going to do with one of our curvy splines. I'm not going to do the mirror right now. We're going to leave the mirror off just because if we do that, we'll have this really weird looking mirror down the entire length of the car. So we're going to leave that alone for right now. But I'm going to pop into Create. In order to get ready for some splines, I'm going to place points first. All right, so let's talk about where I'm going to place points. So the very first point I'll place will be, so I need to make sure that all of this stuff has a curve, so I'm going to place this point somewhere on that construction line. And if you notice, stuff is not really constrained here. That's because my constraint is really based on my canvas. So because I said, hey, canvas, you're 50 millimeters across, my tracing is going to stick to that. So I'm not really too worried about constraints here. Now let me show you where I want to put these points. So I want to just kind of put the points wherever the curving starts to change. So right here, the curve really starts to change, and you can see it goes down here. And then it kind of starts changing right about here too. And then it kind of goes down, 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 down. And then maybe like right about here it starts to change. Right here it starts to change. Right here it starts to change. Maybe like right there. I don't know if I don't want that. I don't want that horizontal constraint there, right there, and then we'll end that one there. And then our tires, we have to curve those up. Those are pretty simple. We just need to put one point in there, and the second point I'm okay with saying you should be horizontal to that other one. All right, so we've got all of our points in, and now we're going to connect the dots with that spline tool. So I'll click on spline, and then I'll just go connect the dots. So this point to this point to this point, and I'll hit enter. There we go. We got a nice curve. Now something I do want to point out, a lot of people see this green line and get a little concerned. This green line is not part of your spline. That green line is a curve adjuster. So if I start clicking on it, you can see it will adjust the curve of my tire. And actually, I want to make sure that curve goes just like that so that the tire Goes straight up and down right there. Okay, and then I'll go over here and I'll add a spline to these three. So from here to here to here, and I'll hit enter. And do I like the curve there? No, you know what? I'm going to make this one straight up and down too. Yeah, okay, I like the curve of that tire. All right. So, and then we only have one more curve to put in, and that's the big curve. So I'll hit the spline, and we're just going to connect each one of these points. So from here to here to here to here to here. Oh my goodness. To here to here, and then finally to here. I'll hit enter. All right, do I like my curves? I kind of have this weird dip right here in the roof. So maybe I'll play around with some of these curves to kind of undip it. Yeah, so that seems to fit a little bit better. And the rest of these curves I am A-okay with. All right, so we have a pretty good tracing of the car. I can go over here to canvases and I can use the eyeball to turn off the canvas, and I can look at everything that I've traced. Right, yeah, I like that. That's a good left-hand side of the car. So I'll turn my canvas back on. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to click somewhere up here and drag. I've selected everything. Now I am going to use the mirror tool. So I have 39 objects selected. Now here's a little problem. If I try to click on mirror tool, you can see my mirror line is selected. It won't let me select that as the mirror tool if it's one of the objects I'm trying to mirror. So I'm going to click back onto objects, and I'll make sure that the mirror line is not part of those objects I've selected. And now, since it's not, I will click select for mirror line. I'll click on the mirror line itself. I'll click OK. And voila, you can see I have mirrored the car. So I have a full car now. All right, let's turn off the canvas and make sure that I have a good outline. Yeah, I like that outline. So I'll turn my canvas back on. Oops. And you can see, even over on the other side, it follows that really well. Okay, I'm going to click Finish Sketch. And let's name this sketch so we know what we're dealing with here, okay? So let's rename this one called Front View. All right. And so I have the front view sketch, and same with this. Let's rename the canvas that we've added also to front view. So I have created the front view of this car. I'll turn my origin on so I kind of know where we are. So what we're going to do now is we are going to create the top-down view of this car. Right? So in order to do that, I am going to go, so I'm looking at the front of my car. I'm going to spin my view cube so that I'm looking kind of what would be from the top down. That's why I put the front of my car on the front of the view cube. But now I'm looking from the front down. I want to put the top-down view right here. So again, I'm going to insert canvas. And I'm going to insert the same canvas. That sounds a little bit strange, I know. So we'll go here. And we are this time going to put it on that top-down plane. All right. And we'll click OK, because the very first thing that I need to do is I need to align or calibrate my canvas. So I know from side panel to side panel, it's 50 millimeters. And so I have this really nice spot on this drawing with that line that will help me calibrate. So let's just go ahead, and here is my new canvas. It's called Car Views. I'm going to rename that maybe to, let's call this one Top View. And we need to calibrate top view. So I right click on top view and I calibrate. And I'm going to choose, all right, from this spot right here, because there's this up and down line right here to where it meets. So from that spot, to this spot, which is the width that we had previously. All right, let's go ahead and say that this should be, oh, my calibrate menu seems to have disappeared. Uh-oh. Well, I'm not quite sure where that ran away to. Let me try to enlarge my screen here. Oh, okay, there it is. All right, so again, I need to make sure that my width is 50, so I'll type in 50 for 50 millimeters. I will hit enter, maybe. Oh, okay, yeah, there, I just had to think for a second. Okay, now, so there's the front of my car right there. So this guy is pointing in the wrong direction. So I want the front of my new canvas to point to the front of here. So I'm going to right click on the top view canvas. I'm going to edit it. And then if you look at my mover, right, I have the move box, I have the resize box, I have these move arrows, I have these flippers. So you could try using some of these flippers. We don't want to flip in that direction. We don't want to flip in that direction either. What I want to do is I want to use this rotator here. Okay, and I'm going to rotate that. And I start spinning. You can see I spun it to the left that for 29 degrees. I want to spin it to 90 degrees. I want to make sure that the front of my top view is pointing to the front of my front view, which was this blue line right here. So, yep, everything's in the right line. And now, same thing. I'm going to use my blue line here, or my blue box, my move box, and I want the very bottom or the very front bumper touching the x-axis, and then this side panel, the straight line side panel, touching what's my y-axis. So I'll kind of do some adjusting there. I'll zoom in. It could go to the left a little bit more. Okay. Okay, I'll use my free mover and okay, I have that locked in place. And when I'm happy, and again, I ignored the mirrors. So I'm going to click OK. And we're going to ignore the mirrors on this one too. So same thing as last time. The left side and the right side are also identical. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I am going to create a construction line. So let's go ahead, and you can see my old sketch, my front view sketch is right there. And what I'm going to do, I'll click the top so I'm straight at a top-down view. I'm going to turn off the front view sketch and the front view canvas just so I don't accidentally click onto it. And that's going to save some headache there. So I'm going to create a new sketch right here onto my top-down view. And this looks really good. The x-axis is running right through the front bumper line, which is exactly what I wanted. Okay, so same kind of thing. I'm going to start by creating two construction lines so I can split this guy in half. I will start the construction right here at the origin. I will make sure that it's coincident to the x-axis. And what I'll do is I'll give it a dimension of 50. That's pretty close because we know that it's 50 wide. And I will get in here to my line tool and I'll make sure it's construction. And again, just like last time, I'm going to start this up and down line on the midpoint. So there's the beginning of it. And I will make sure that it's at 90 degrees and it goes longer than the car. Yep, it's at 90 degrees. And if I'm having a hard time making it 90, I can hit the tab key on my keyboard and go over and type in 90, hit enter, and there we go. We have my mirror line now. Okay? So we've got a great mirror line, and now we are going to trace. So I'll start with all my straight line tracings. I'll make sure its construction line is off. And I'm going to look for the very first point that the side panel of the car meets the y-axis, which looks right here. And remember, I'm ignoring the mirror, so this is just a straight line all the way up to here. So it looks like it goes right to about here. Okay. And do I have any other straight lines that I can trace on the outline of this car? Not really. Okay, so I'm going to create and points for all my tracing points again. All right, so same kind of a thing. I'll put maybe a tracing point in the middle of this curve, and maybe one at the end of this curve. And then I'll put another tracing point right there where those two lines meet. And I'll go ahead and spline that up. So I'm going to go from here to here to here to here, and I'll hit enter. And you can see I have one curve that goes a little too far, so I'll use my curve adjusters. I'll bring that one in, and then I'll use this curve adjuster to do the same, make it nice and flat. Well, maybe that's a little too nice and flat. So yeah, look, I've kind of got a dent now. You know what? I'm going to hit Control Z a few times, because let's just add a flat line between these 2 points. I think that makes the most sense. So right there's not a good spot for a curve. Okay, so now I have a line between those 2 points. Now I will go, let's try connect the dots from here to here to here. I'll hit enter, and hey, that does a really good job following my outline. It's a little bit squarish right here, but I could fix that with a fillet or something if I really wanted to. But we're just trying to learn how to do this cool new thing. All right, and then right here, so I'll add in my points as well. So the curve kind of takes away right here, and then it starts changing here, and here's kind of the middle of the curve from right there, and then I will put that last point right there. Okay. And again, you can change how you do it, because those curve adjusters will help you out. And then I'm just going to use this connect the dot thing, our spline. So 1, 2, all those points that I put out there. And again, I'm not too worried about constraint. I'll hit enter, and I'll click away. Do I like my curve? Yeah, for the most part. I think maybe this one on top could come down just a wee bit. I'll click away. Yeah. So I think that does a pretty good job following the outline of that car. And I'm going to select everything and use mirror. Again, I want to make sure that I click on my mirror line so that it's not part of my objects to mirror. I'll go to the select mirror line, and I will select that mirror, and I'll click OK. And voila, we have the top done. I'll go to finish sketch, and I will rename that sketch to top view. Okay, we have one more view. And that is the side view. So I'm going to go and turn all of, let's go ahead and turn all of the canvases off and all the sketches on. So you can see right now I have, there's the outline of the front, there's the outline of the top. And so see that one lonely profile back here, that one lonely plane that looks like it's the ZY plane on mine? Yeah, that's where our side view is going to end up. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to look right at that plane, and I'm going to notice that this blue line right here, that's the front of my car. This blue line right here is the bottom of my car. So let's add, go to Insert Canvas. We're going to choose the car view again and insert it. And we're going to say, you need to live on our last plane. I will click OK. And here's where we need to do a little bit of investigation. Okay. So this blue line right here is from this point at the top, and I'll spin to the side so you can see, right, from this point at the top to the bottom, well, that's how tall my car is. So what I could do is, because I have everything nicely on this mirror line, I can click inspect, and I can inspect how far it is from this point at the very tip top to that point at the very bottom. And this is 37.6345. What I can do is I can go over here. No, it won't let me copy it. Never mind. So let me try that again. So top to bottom. And what you hear right now is me getting out a pencil, because I'm going to write that number down. 37.6345. Now, your number might be just a little bit different if you put your points in just a little bit different spot. So I want you to write down your number. Don't use mine. Okay? So I hope you have that number written down. We're going to need it later so we can calibrate our side view. So I'm going to get back into that side view, and you can see there's the canvas for side view. And our side view, to help me out here, is going to do this. I'm going to edit that, I'm going to rename that canvas to side view. Then I'm going to edit the canvas, and I'm going to scoot it kind of over here just so that the tires are touching the blue line. I'll click OK. We're going to have to move it again. But because those tires are touching the blue line, now I can say, all right, from this point to this point is our certain number. So I'm going to right click on the side view, go to calibrate, and I'm going to find the tallest point in the side view, which is right here. Boom. And I'm going to say we'll go directly below that as best as you possibly can, right on that axis. Now we're going to type in that number that we just discovered by using inspect. So if you remember, when I looked at the front of my car, mine was 37.6345 millimeters tall. So that's what I'm going to type in here. 6345. You will type your number in here. And you can see that makes it pretty big. And I am going to right click on side view. I'm going to edit the canvas, and this time I want the front of my car to touch that axis, and then the tires to touch down here. Okay, so maybe just a little bit more down. Perfect. And then that bumper needs to come just a little bit more forward. Perfect. I'll click OK. All right, unfortunately, I cannot really mirror this one. But there are some things that I can do. So just like the last times, I'm going to turn off all the other sketches and all the other canvases. And I will get in and let's add a sketch to our last plane. And some things I can do is I can use a diameter, a center diameter circle, to make the tires. So I'll just kind of place that, and I will outline the tires as best as I can. And same with this one. Again, I use that horizontal constraint to help me out. All right, I'm going to pop open my origins folder because I want those tires to touch my y-axis. You can see over here on my view cube, the one that goes left and right is y. So I'll use a tangent and say, okay, this tire should touch the y-axis, and then this tire should touch the y-axis. Okay, that makes that nice and round, and then I'm going to start tracing. There's some nice flat lines I can use here. So I will attach one line to this tire and just trace it over here. It's nice and horizontal. And again, right, same, I got that horizontal constraint, so I can go from here to here. And it's not really too curvy, so I can get away with this maybe. I'll just kind of put click right there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this point really needs to live on that z-axis. So I'll use coincident, and I'll say, okay, Mr. Point, you need to live on the z-axis. And then I will just kind of drag that down until it's in the right spot. Okay, great. And I'm going to start adding in my points for curving things now. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go along, place a few points, especially at the bends. So there's a point. There's the very top of that bend. There's a point. There's kind of a point. There's the big part of that bend, and another big part. And then down. And you know what? I'm going to say these two should be vertical from each other because that can be a straight line. I'll go back in and put a straight line there. And that could be a straight line too. I got some straight lines back here that I can use. So let me grab my line tool. I'm going to start this one on the tire. I'm going to see if it will auto constrain it to that line over there for me. There it is. And okay, so I'll start there. I'll go back to like right here. I'll go up to here, up to here, up to here. Great. And now the rest I will just connect with our spline tool. So we'll go spline, 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 and I'll hit enter. I'll click away. Do I like my curves? I like my curves. Indeed I do. All right, so I will click Finish Sketch. And what I'm going to do is I will turn off my canvas and I will turn on all of my outlines. And you can see I have 3 profiles. So here's where it gets really fun. All right, the very first thing that I'm going to do is let's take this bottom profile and I'm going to extrude it. And it doesn't really matter how much, I just want to make sure that I extrude it taller than the other 2 cars. I'll click OK. And that doesn't look interesting, that doesn't look car-like at all right now, I get it. But check this out. I'm going to take this profile. I'm going to extrude that, but before I do, I'm going to make sure that the operation is this one called intersect. That means it will create a solid object where this profile and the other one I extruded meet. So I'm just going to pull that one back further, and then I'll click OK. And you get this really weird looking thing, and you can see, oh yeah, there's the beginnings of the wheels. It's starting to look like a car. And there's only one more thing I need to do. I'm going to select all my side profiles, so my car and my wheels. I'll extrude those, and again, I want to make sure that's an intersect extrude. That's the big point of this assignment, is how does intersect work, and then I will just extrude it past that way, and I will click OK. I'll turn off my origin so it's not in the way. And look at that. I have a car-shaped object. All right, I'm going to make sure that I save. And before you turn yours in, please make sure that you've changed the material to something that you like, and you're going to go to Fusion Teams and grab the share link and turn that in with the share link. This is one of my favorite things to do because you can take 3 different pictures of something and turn it into a 3D object pretty easily. Now, granted, there's some stuff that we need to do to make it look better, but this is the real good beginnings of a model. All right. Thank you so much, guys. You're doing great. Keep it up. We'll see you in class.